Hey team, Professor Travis here, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the life lesson of the month that we're teaching to our students, especially in our kids program, and that is positive mental attitude. This is an idea that I'm very passionate about. I think it's perhaps the most important lesson that we teach. So I just want to share my own thoughts on this idea and where I've used this to help me and where I've made not so good choices with having the wrong attitude. When it comes to attitude, you get to choose the attitude that you bring toward a given situation. You can have a very positive attitude in a negative situation, and you can have a negative attitude in a positive situation. This is one thing you'll notice with optimists and pessimists. An optimist will be given some bad news and will immediately start listing the good things in their lives that they still have to be grateful for, while a pessimist can be handed very good news and might accept that information with the idea that they don't deserve it or it's not going to last very long. That could be, they got a raise at work and they might think, oh, well, I don't really deserve it, or, it's probably not going to last, or start listing a lot of other problems at their job when they ought to be focusing on the good that's been presented right in front of them. So what's so powerful about this idea of attitude is it all exists in your mind, because we don't have a ton of control over the circumstances outside in the world. We can't control what everyone else is doing, but we can control the attitude that we bring to those situations. And the truth is, people with a positive attitude get more of what they want out of their lives. And there are a lot of reasons for that, but most importantly, if you have a positive attitude, you are more likely to push through and work towards something that you care about, rather than giving up on trying because you feel that what you're going after is hopeless and isn't going to work. See, the effort you put towards something is largely dependent on the attitude that you bring toward that task. So if it's jiu-jitsu, for example, if you have a bad attitude, if you think like, I'm not very good, everyone taps me out, I'm gonna lose this match, or I'm gonna lose the tournament, how do you think that's going to affect how hard you try? It's going to affect it tremendously. You are not going to perform at your very best. In fact, you're not even gonna be halfway there because you've already decided that you're not very good and you don't deserve to win. And on the flip side, I have seen this firsthand. I have seen people win matches against people that were much better than them, but because they brought an attitude of winning. They brought this attitude that I don't care what anyone says, I don't care what belt the other person's wearing, I don't care how strong they look or how intimidating they look. I'm coming after this match with an attitude of give my 100% best and try to win. And those people have a much higher chance of winning. And then even if they don't win, they pick themselves up and they accept the loss as a learning lesson. They don't even like this word lose. They just think like, wow, I got better. I learned. I got pushed and challenged in a way that is guaranteed to stretch me and help me become a better version of myself. And that's the difference between a positive and a negative attitude in a jiu-jitsu situation. But this attitude carries over into so many other elements of your life. It carries over into school, to your friendships, to how you interact with your family. Quite literally everything that you do is largely dependent on the attitude that you bring to it. The outcome is dependent on the attitude that you bring. So I want to share a story about how I had to leverage a positive attitude to get me out of a very pretty negative situation. And this was in 2006. I was living with my dad. I had my first school. It wasn't the garage, it was the one right after that, just my first kind of little hole in the wall place. And my wife was in Brazil, was waiting for her to get over here on a fiance visa. I had a bad injury in my back, and at that time I decided to put on a tournament for a jiu-jitsu tournament, and I had a lot going for me with this tournament. I had a sponsor. I was told that I was going to get a free arena, the Reliant Arena, not the big one, but like one of the ones on the side, and I was getting a bunch of sponsorship money, so we brought in all these big name fighters. It was going to be one of the best tournaments around. And like 5 days before the tournament, I found out that I wasn't getting the arena for free. There was no sponsorship money. I had been sort of misled by someone that I worked with. And I was young and naive, and I just kind of trusted them. And meanwhile, my back injury was making it difficult to even get around. And to top it off, my wife, who was my fiance at the time, she was supposed to make it over. Her visa had finally been approved. She just had to go for the final interview. And I sent her all the paperwork here from America to Brazil so she could present it. And that's all that was left. It had been 15 months. She was going to come over and be here the week before the tournament, so she was going to sort of like see me break ground, you know, in like my business. You know, it was like this big opportunity to, you know, to start this tournament business that I was going to do to help support my jiu-jitsu school, which at the time was just getting underway. And it all fell apart, right? The tournament ended up costing me so much money because we got none of that free stuff. So I ended up like $12,000 in debt by putting on the tournament. I messed up the paperwork by not getting it notarized when I sent it there, so they didn't approve it, so she didn't get to come over. She was very upset. And of course, the pain in my back caused from a herniated disc was at an all-time high. It was flared up. I had trouble sleeping. It was very difficult to sit for very long. So all these things happened in like a 3-day window. And I was devastated. I didn't know how I was going to pay back the loan that I had to get to even put on the tournament. And Ingrid, I didn't know if they were going to approve her. They were very strict with approving visas during that time. And of course, my back was just killing me, and I was just miserable. And my mind was just kind of consumed with thoughts of this isn't going to work out. It's not going to work out. It's going to fail. I'm not going to get my fiance over. I'm not going to be able to pay that off. I'm going to lose the school. That's all I was thinking. Oh, and I'm going to be a physical wreck the whole time. And I sat with those thoughts probably for a week. And then eventually I just got tired of feeling sorry for myself. And I dug into what I learned from martial arts, which is that sometimes you lose. Sometimes you have to dig really deep just to get back up where you once were, and you have to keep moving forward. And the only thing that got me out of that pessimistic mindset was switching my attitude. So how do you change your attitude? Well, the way I did it, I just went to work on taking action in the areas that I could control. I couldn't fix everything, but I could refile the paperwork for Ingrid, and I did that immediately. I sent it off. She came over a week later. Not that big of a deal. A little disappointed that she didn't get to come to the tournament, but in hindsight, it was probably better because it was such a financial disaster of the tournament that I wasn't in a good mood that day, so it probably wasn't the best time for her to come over anyway, so we got past that. The tournament itself was actually amazing. It was some of the best super fights that Houston has ever thrown, at least at that time, some of the best ones. It was Rafael Lovato and Marcelo Garcia, and so a lot of other big names, and people still talk about that tournament to this day. So although it was financial failure, it was great for the jiu-jitsu community, and I got to be a big part of that. My back was really hurting me, but I had been doing rehab and I was having positive results from it. I just wasn't at the point where I had recovered yet. Eventually I would. I kept doing that. I kept working on my school so I could pay back the loan and keep my school going, because there was no way I was just going to quit because I had a really bad couple of days. And that's what happens when you have a negative attitude, is you can feel like you want to just throw in the towel and quit on life, on everything, because emotionally that's what it can feel like. But developing the skill to change your attitude gives you almost superhero powers, in that you know that all you have to do is get up and move in the direction of progress to get yourself out of whatever situation you're in. So, although this is the lesson that we're teaching the kids this month, I think this applies to everyone. I think we all need to think about how we can have a more positive attitude in our everyday lives, and to not think of this as an idea that we should just give to kids when they're having a bad day or they get in trouble at school. I don't think there's any age where having a positive attitude is something that we outgrow. Now, I don't believe in this idea that you can always have a positive attitude. Clearly not. Negative things are going to happen in our lives. We're going to lose friendships. We're going to lose people close to us. We're going to have changes in career, health. There are many factors that are outside of our control that are going to floor us on occasion. But believing in the power of a positive attitude will eventually get you to the point where you can have the attitude you need to take steps in the direction to keep you moving forward. Because again, we have very little control over what happens in the outside world, but we have a ton of control over how we process information and the decisions we make moving forward. So I hope that this helps you all. Maybe you pessimists out there will just be a little more optimistic, and if you already have a positive attitude, then keep cultivating and working it, because it's like your jiu-jitsu. It never crystallizes into something perfect. It simply improves over time, and we can always work to have a stronger, more positive attitude that will help us get what we want out of life and more positively affect the people that we love the most. All right, well, I'm done rambling, guys, so I hope you enjoyed that, and take care.